Explosions are fascinating to watch, but they can also be dangerous, destructive, and lethal, whether they are natural or artificial. Explosions often end up with people losing their lives or their property. Here are the 15 biggest explosions caught on camera. Number 15, the Chernobyl explosion in 1986. A devastating explosion occurred at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Ukraine, then part of the Soviet Union, in 1986. The blast was so powerful, it dislodged a 2,000-ton reactor lid, releasing vast amounts of radiation into the atmosphere. The radiation released was over 400 times greater than that from the Hiroshima bomb. As a result, a massive area of over 200,000 square kilometers across Europe was contaminated with radiation, an area comparable to the size of Idaho. Around 600,000 people were exposed to dangerous radiation levels, posing serious health risks. More than 350,000 individuals had to evacuate their homes to escape the radiation. Tragically, 30 operators and firefighters at the site succumbed within 3 months of the incident. Later, 237 people suffered acute radiation sickness, and some eventually died. This incident is the only nuclear power plant accident to cause immediate radiation fatalities. Its severity was so impactful that it contributed to the dissolution of the Soviet Union. Experts predict the Chernobyl vicinity will remain unsafe for human habitation for approximately 20,000 years, highlighting the long-term consequences of this nuclear disaster. Number 14, the Abomination. In the midst of World War II, the U.S. Army embarked on the top-secret Manhattan Project, aiming to construct the world's inaugural nuclear bomb. Before deploying this formidable weapon, they required a test to ensure its efficacy. They selected a desolate stretch in New Mexico, ominously named Dead Man's Route, as the testing ground. Here, they erected a tower to host the bomb, affectionately nicknamed Gadget, and arranged an array of cameras and instruments to capture the impending event. The observation point was set at a considerable distance, about 16 kilometers away, to safeguard the scientists. When Gadget was activated, it unleashed a blinding flash and an explosion that sent shockwaves felt over 257 kilometers away, akin to the distance between neighboring cities. This detonation unleashed the energy equivalent to 25,000 tons of TNT, outstripping the bomb later dropped on Hiroshima. It spawned an enormous mushroom cloud that soared higher than Mount Everest, the Earth's tallest peak. The blast's intense heat transformed the surrounding sand and rocks into trinitite, a glassy residue still present at the site, which is now commemorated by a memorial. This pivotal test unveiled the terrifying potential of nuclear armaments. Number 13, man-made earthquakes. Imagine living in a town where tiny explosions sometimes make the ground shake. That's what happened near Las Vegas for over 76 years. About 96 kilometers away from the bright lights of Sin City, there was a special site for testing nuclear weapons. Between 1951 and 1992, the U.S. military set off 1,021 nuclear blasts there, 100 above ground and 921 underground. Most of these tests studied how to contain nuclear explosions below the surface. On July 26, 1957, they tried an experiment called Pascal A. The scientists dug a tunnel 130 meters deep and placed a small 29-kilogram explosive at the bottom. Even though it only had 2 pounds of TNT, the blast was way more powerful than expected, like 50,000 times stronger. It released energy equal to 55 tons of TNT going off. The military was so surprised, they tried again a month later with Pascal B. This time, they put a huge 907-kilogram concrete cap over the hole. When the explosion happened, the immense heat and pressure launched that massive cap straight up like a rocket. Cameras filmed it leaving the tunnel at an incredible 66 kilometers per second, faster than a space shuttle taking off. Scientists think the concrete cap may have escaped Earth's gravity and become the first accidental satellite. Number 12, trouble in paradise. Have you heard about the crazy thing that happened at Bikini Atoll? Some sailors helped with a big experiment there called Operation Crossroads. The military wanted to see how strong their ships were against nuclear bombs. So on July 25, 1946, they tried setting off a nuclear bomb under the water. It was the first time anyone had ever tested a nuke underwater. When the bomb went off, it made a huge bubble of gas that smashed everything at the bottom of the lagoon. The explosion dug a massive hole in the seafloor, about 9 meters deep and 610 meters across. But that's not all. Above the water, it caused a gigantic fountain of water to shoot up over 1.5 kilometers high. The blast was so powerful, it created a tsunami wave 29 meters tall. This huge wave actually lifted up a massive battleship called the USS Arkansas. In the end, the tsunami sank 8 ships and covered many others in radiation. Even though it was really destructive, the military thought the results were amazing. They couldn't wait to do more nuclear tests like this one. Crazy, right? Back then, people didn't fully understand how dangerous nuclear weapons could be. Number 11. Annihilating Islands. In a race against time, scientists worked tirelessly on the top-secret Mike project. This bomb, a novel design using deuterium for fuel, was based on the powerful Teller-Ulam configuration. Mike stood as the first-ever full-scale hydrogen bomb, vastly outclassing atomic bombs in strength, hundreds to thousands of times more powerful. On November 1st, 1952, the Mike test occurred, unleashing an explosion equivalent to 10.4 megatons of TNT, over 450 times mightier than the bomb dropped on Nagasaki. The blast erased Anihilating Island, creating a massive underwater crater 1,900 meters across and 50 meters deep. The detonation spawned a colossal cloud of radioactive dust and smoke, which extended for 56 kilometers. The Air Force dispatched planes for sampling, but Captain Jimmy Robinson's aircraft succumbed to engine failure amidst the harsh conditions, and he tragically did not survive. With an impending presidential election, President Truman initially sought to keep the test under wraps. Yet, as whispers grew, he was compelled to publicly confirm the hydrogen bomb's successful detonation on January 7, 1953. Despite its groundbreaking yield, Mike's sheer size and weight rendered it impractical for military deployment as a conventional weapon. Number 10. Kingdom Come. Operation Ivy was a precursor to Operation Castle, a series of U.S. government-led nuclear tests aimed at developing deliverable nuclear weapons. On March 1, 1954, the most powerful American nuclear bomb to date, Castle Bravo, was detonated. It was designed for deployment by aircraft, but its explosive power was grossly underestimated due to a scientific miscalculation involving lithium deuteride. The bomb's yield was expected to be 5 to 6 million tons of TNT, but it exploded with a force of 15 million tons. The resulting mushroom cloud reached 39 kilometers in height within 6 minutes, a testament to its unexpected might. Radiation from Castle Bravo contaminated nearby inhabited islands, as the inhabitants were not evacuated in time. This led to prolonged health issues, including cancer and birth defects, among the islanders who were uninformed about the nuclear test and the dangers of radiation exposure. The incident provoked international outcry, with Indian Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru advocating for a halt to nuclear testing, one of the earliest calls for such a ban. Despite the Castle Bravo disaster, the U.S. persisted with nuclear trials in the Marshall Islands for another 4 years, demonstrating a persistent yet cautious approach to mastering the formidable destructive force they had unleashed. Number 9. Piper Alpha. The Piper Alpha disaster was a devastating event on an oil rig in the North Sea on July 6, 1988. A series of explosions led to a massive fire, causing most of the rig to collapse into the sea. Tragically, 167 lives were lost, with others injured or left with lasting psychological trauma. As the worst offshore oil rig accident in history, it impacted 10% of the UK's oil production, with financial losses of around £2 billion. The disaster began with a malfunctioning pump leaking condensate, triggering an explosion. Subsequent failures and broken pipelines resulted in further blasts. Flames reached up to 61 meters high, consuming energy at a rate 3 times that of the UK's total usage. Most victims succumbed to smoke inhalation, drowning, or injuries from the explosions and debris. 30 bodies were never recovered. The Piper Alpha disaster underscores the critical importance of adhering to safety regulations in the oil and gas industry. It serves as a somber reminder of the lives lost and the need for vigilance to prevent such tragedies. Remembering this event is crucial for ensuring the safety of workers and the environment. Number 8. Mother Nature's Wrath. Mount St. Helens is a volcano in the Cascade Mountains. For over 4,000 years, it has been erupting in different ways, but after being quiet for 123 years, it erupted again on May 18, 1980. This time, the eruption didn't come from the top of the volcano. Instead, it came out from the side. The eruption released 8 times more energy than all the bombs used in World War II combined. How crazy is that? The eruption killed 57 people, including scientists studying the volcano, hikers exploring the area, and people living nearby. It was the first major volcanic eruption in the lower 48 states in a very long time. For generations before 1980, people hadn't seen anything like it. In the weeks leading up to the disaster, the mountain showed signs that something big was about to happen. There were thousands of small earthquakes and swarms of vibrations. The volcano also released tall columns of ash, some reaching up to 5,000 meters into the sky. These were all warnings that Mount St. Helens was waking up after over a century of sleep. Number 7. Wahoo. On May 16, 1958, the U.S. military did a big nuclear test. They called it Wahoo. It happened in the open ocean near some islands called the Marshall Islands. The nuclear bomb was set off 152 meters deep in water that was 977 meters deep. This information comes from the Nuclear Weapons Archive. The bomb they used was called the Mark 7. It was a nuclear weapon made in 1952 for airplanes to drop on enemy soldiers on the ground. The National Museum of the U.S. Air Force says many kinds of fighter jets and bombers could carry the Mark 7 bomb. When the Mark 7 exploded, it released 9 kilotons of energy. That's a huge amount. Right after the explosion, a big dome of spray shot up 256 meters high in just 1 second. 7 seconds later, plumes of smoke burst through the spray dome in every direction. At 22 seconds after the blast, the spray dome was about 1,158 meters across. Number 6. The biggest explosion ever. During the Cold War, the US and Soviet Union were locked in a nuclear arms race, each striving to surpass the other with more potent weapons. The US aimed for precision with smaller bombs, while the Soviet Union sought to create the most powerful nuclear bomb, resulting in the Tsar Bomba. On October 30, 1961, the Tsar Bomba was detonated on an Arctic island, measuring 26 feet in length, 7 feet in width, and weighing 27,215 kilograms. The bomb's power was so immense that the bomber crew had a mere 50% chance of survival. The explosion of the Tsar Bomba was unprecedented, yielding 50 megatons of energy, 1,570 times stronger than the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombs combined. Had it been the planned 100 megatons, the fallout would have been unimaginable. Despite being an airburst, the blast caused widespread destruction, breaking windows as far as Norway and Finland, 241 kilometers away. The world was aghast at the test, fearing the potential for an environmental catastrophe. Andrei Sakharov, a Soviet scientist involved in the bomb's development, was so alarmed by its destructive capability that he became an advocate for nuclear disarmament, promoting testing limits to avert a global nuclear disaster. Number 5. The First Meteor. In 1945, as World War II concluded in Europe, Japan defied the Allies' surrender terms. American intelligence revealed Japan's formidable defense on Kyushu, with over 560,000 soldiers and numerous kamikaze planes and boats. The U.S. had suffered 49,000 casualties in the Battle of Okinawa against a smaller Japanese force. To prevent similar losses, President Harry S. Truman opted for the nuclear option, Little Boy. Hiroshima, with a population of 550,000 near the Oda River, was selected for the strike. On August 6, 1945, 3 American bombers flew from Tinian Island, situated 2,414 kilometers from Japan. The Enola Gay released Little Boy over Hiroshima at 8:15 a.m., detonating near a surgical clinic by the Aioi Bridge, just 152 meters off target. The bomb's limited uranium core caused a massive explosion, yielding the force of 15,000 tons of TNT. The resultant blast emitted a blinding flash and intense heat, instantly raising ground temperatures to 3,893 degrees Celsius. People within a half-mile radius were vaporized. The bomb's energy inflicted severe burns on individuals kilometers away, melted bronze statues, and welded roof tiles together. This first wartime use of a nuclear bomb obliterated Hiroshima, instantly killing at least 80,000 people in a devastating blow. Number 4. The second meteor Fat Man. Fat Man was the second atomic bomb dropped on Japan during World War II, significantly more powerful and complex than its predecessor, Little Boy. Just 3 days after the devastating attack on Hiroshima on August 9, 1945, American forces were prepared to strike again with Fat Man. Initially targeting the city of Kokura, smoke and clouds from previous bombings obscured the view, prompting Major Charles Sweeney to divert to the secondary target, Nagasaki. The Fat Man bomb was enormous, weighing almost 4,539 kilograms. When it exploded approximately 503 meters above Nagasaki, it generated a massive blast equivalent to 22,000 tons of TNT. The explosion's magnitude was unprecedented, occurring in the heart of a densely populated city. The aftermath was catastrophic. The bomb's blast instantly killed around 40,000 people. By early 1946, the death toll had risen by an additional 30,000 due to injuries and radiation sickness. Within 5 years post-bombing, the total number of fatalities attributed to Fat Man surpassed 100,000. American military leaders claimed the necessity of these atomic bombings was to expedite Japan's surrender and prevent further American military casualties. It was a grave decision, but they argued that it would ultimately save a greater number of American lives, despite the immense human cost inflicted on Nagasaki. Number 3. Pyrotechnical mishaps. Have you ever heard of Tultepec, Mexico? It's a place where people make lots of fireworks. In fact, they call themselves the firework capital of Mexico. But making fireworks can be very dangerous if you're not careful. One day in December 2016, something really scary happened at the San Pablito market in Tultepec. Some gunpowder from open fireworks caught fire. This caused a huge chain reaction. Firework after firework started exploding. The people of Tultepec have been making fireworks for over 200 years. But on that day, about 300 tons of fireworks all went off at once. It was a massive explosion that destroyed the whole market. Sadly, 40 people died and over 80 people got hurt. The blast was so powerful that it turned most of the market into just ashes on the ground. After 2 years of cleaning up and rebuilding, the Mexican government told the sellers they had to be much more careful. They needed to follow all the safety rules when handling and storing fireworks. But even with new rules, who knows if something like this could happen again? Number 1. Chinese warehouse explosion. On August 12, 2015, a catastrophic event struck Tianjin, China. A warehouse, operated by Ruihai International Logistics, which managed roughly 1 million tons of hazardous materials annually, was the site of devastating explosions. The blast caused numerous casualties, compelling China's President, Xi Jinping, to mandate a thorough investigation into the incident. In the aftermath, over 200 specialists in nuclear and chemical substances were called upon to assess the safety of the affected area, which led to a temporary halt in rescue operations. After diligent investigation, the cause of the disaster was identified in February 2016. A container of nitrocellulose had overheated, setting off the initial explosion. The destruction was extensive. 173 people lost their lives, including 104 firefighters who had bravely responded to the emergency. 8 individuals were reported missing, and 798 were injured. The tragedy brought to light the perils of managing explosive materials and emphasized the importance of stringent safety measures to prevent such disasters from occurring. The Tianjin explosions served as a stark reminder of the potential consequences of inadequate safety protocols in the handling of hazardous substances. The event not only prompted a re-evaluation of regulatory practices, but also a collective mourning for the lives tragically altered by the disaster. It became a turning point for industrial safety in China, leading to increased scrutiny and the implementation of more rigorous safety standards to safeguard against future catastrophes. Which of these explosions surprised you the most? Let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to watch more of the videos we've put together for you, click on one of them on the screen or check out the channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.